Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Peter Murphy begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The North West Regional Hospital is starting to return to some sense of normality tonight as ADF and AUSMAT personnel hand the facility back to Tasmanian health workers. Their deployment is finishing up as our local staff return from quarantine. But there are still more cases emerging that have been attributed to the original outbreak in the facility.
Deployed in the epicentre of Tasmania's coronavirus battle, a specialist team thanked for stepping in to run the North West Regional Hospital when it was hit by an outbreak.
So without the assistance of the AUSMAT and the ADF team, that emergency department wouldn't have been able to be opened. They've been working 12-hour shifts effectively to provide that 24/7 capability to keep the emergency department open and to service the community of the North West. That
service coming to an end today.
They've supported the North West and they came at our hour of need. Today, however, the handover process to the North West Regional Hospital staff is finalised.
50 ADF and 7 AUSMAT personnel seeing more than 450 presentations over 2 weeks, all set to fly home tomorrow.
From my government and importantly from the Tasmanian people, how pleased and thankful we were for the way that they stood up. They helped, they came when we needed them, and importantly, they've done the job that we needed them to do so professionally.
It's certainly not been the case that the ADF has ever operated a domestic hospital, and so that is a testament to just how well the state and federal government, the AUSMAT and the ADF teams have been able to work together.
The other heroes, our local frontline health workers, are now stepping back into duty. Those returning staff set to be screened before every shift.
So that screening will include a temperature check and it will also include a number of questions. So understanding where the person may have been, but also screening to understand whether there are any symptoms.
The state's tally reaching 218, with 4 more cases diagnosed overnight, including 3 health workers at the North West Regional Hospital. And a new case from the north, Public Health says is also connected to the North West. In the south, precautions are being taken as health authorities continue to clarify an inconclusive test result here.
Yesterday, there were contact tracing activities undertaken by Public Health Services to ensure that all the people who were in contact with that person when they may have been infectious, if indeed they do have the infection, was put into quarantine.
137 Tasmanians have recovered from the virus. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
While some of our leaders are calling for answers from China, a breakdown in Australia's relationship with the nation threatens to derail our export industries. Here in Tasmania, businesses are closely watching these developments, with 1/3 of all our exports going to China.
Our cherries, the envy of the world. Last year, Tasmania exported 1,700 tonnes of the fruit, worth $37 million.
Probably about 20% of our exports go to China, but a similar amount probably to Hong Kong and Taiwan as well. So that area of the world's a very important area for our exports of cherries.
But it's a delicate time for those reliant on the market, as China warns its people may boycott Australian products as our relationship deteriorates. The flow-on effects could have a devastating impact on Tasmanian businesses.
If that sort of fruit had to come onto the domestic market, that's a large amount and would be, have a major effect on pricing in the Australian domestic market.
Last year, before the current situation, 1/3 of our exports went to mainland China, and that's not Australia, that's just Tasmania. 1/3 of our international students were from China.
The Premier hoping we can maintain that close contact, even as we move into an uncertain future.
We've had a strong relationship with a range of export partners and especially China over a long period of time. I would hope that as we work our way through this, that relationship could continue to exist.
We have good quality products, we are a reliable supplier, and for China to stop trading with us would be to hurt their economy and their people.
But as the world fights the coronavirus pandemic, leaders have been left with a long list of questions for the nation.
How it emanated, how it was spread, the world community is owed an explanation, a full investigation, so hopefully we can ensure it never happens again.
Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's coronavirus recovery plan will be unveiled tomorrow when State Parliament sits for the first time in a month. A second COVID-19 emergency bill will be introduced, which includes new laws for on-the-spot fines for non-compliance. But the Premier warned it will be a slow road to recovery, saying his priority will be to protect vulnerable Tasmanians.
My next steps, and I want to be clear, tomorrow I will not be announcing the lifting of any restrictions. There is a period that we need to work through in terms of the Northwest.
We would like to see Parliament sit for more than one day a week, because the Parliament's not just there to pass government legislation. We're elected as members of our community to represent the community and ask questions on their behalf.
The Parliament will also debate new national rental protections to support tenants. And our state government has also bankrolled a raft of new emergency measures to support Tasmanians sleeping rough. The $4.3 million package will fund short-term accommodation services, including a new 10-bed shelter in the state's virus hotspot.
Amid this global emergency, the government has hammered a clear message to the public.
Stay home, save lives, don't leave your home.
Practice good social distancing and hygiene.
Hard advice to follow for those sleeping on the streets.
Everybody needs a safe home, and how can they stay safe when they don't have a home?
Working with the homeless in the Northwest, the Salvation Army's Karen Riley has noticed more and more people seeking shelter in makeshift dwellings, despite the region becoming the state's breeding ground for coronavirus.
It's still hard to gauge the amount of rough sleepers, but it definitely has increased.
Statewide, the numbers are estimated as high as 500, but now a plan to help people without a roof over their heads.
$4.3 million in total over the next 6 months.
That includes extra funding to provide emergency accommodation in hotels and motels, and the expansion of the 24/7 Safe Night Space support service, now to be rolled out in Hobart, Launceston and Burnie.
Incredibly exciting that we're now able to offer a daytime and nighttime accommodation option.
A standalone shelter service for children under 16 will also help vulnerable youth back on their feet.
The interest in the protection and the safety of those young people will be paramount.
But with social distancing measures remaining, strict limits will apply to the number of people allowed to sleep at each premises at any one time. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Launceston Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Neil Gross has announced his shock resignation from the role. He made the announcement in a statement this afternoon after 2.5 years in the top job. Chamber President Andrew Pitt described Mr Gross's management as proactive and pragmatic, which has left the organisation in a strong position. A replacement will be announced in the coming weeks. Police are investigating a suspicious fire at Gagebrook in the early hours of this morning that caused more than $200,000 worth of damage. Fire crews rushed to the scene but were unable to save the property, with the house completely destroyed by the blaze.
Broken windows and a blackened roof. The damaged remains of a Gagebrook home after being gutted by fire this morning. Crews called to the scene at approximately 4:30, finding the property fully engulfed.
The majority of the house was going well. On arrival, the crews did say that there was one pane that was still intact, the rest were fire freely coming out of those windows.
Fast work from first responders is being credited for stopping the fire from spreading to the yard and neighbouring properties.
The crews had it under control within 30 minutes, 90% extinguished within the hour.
But they weren't able to save the building. While the house was unoccupied at the time with minimal contents inside, the damage bill is estimated at $250,000.
Internally there's quite a lot of damage. The front door was boarded up, not too sure about the back door. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, that the house was vacated.
Crews remained on the scene here for several hours as they investigated the cause of the blaze. With the fire determined to be deliberately lit, the investigation is now in the hands of police. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
One of the most isolated football clubs in Tasmania has come up with a colourful way of keeping young players on the park. The Redpa Redlegs in Circular Head are capturing their own high-flying footy moments from home.
With sirens falling silent, the click of a camera now signals game on in this far northwest town, slotting a goal through a trailer or kick to kick, front yard to front yard. This is how the Redpa Redlegs are sharpening skills ahead of the season's return.
We've certainly seen some great photos, some great hangers have been taken. I'm not sure if they've been photoshopped, but hey, they look great.
With games on hold, club coaches are putting out photo challenges to the players. Instead of kicking goals, they compete through creativity. There's no denying players are missing the real thing, but it's keeping them engaged in a COVID climate.
It's really good getting through the week and then knowing that you have footy on the weekend to get together with all your mates and play games.
The Circular Head Club is well regarded for its social endeavours, even being named Club of the Year by Good Sports for having the best drug and alcohol policies in the country. In a region where football is a central hub, footy's fixture freeze has left a large chunk out of social lives.
It's a really place of connection and we're really missing that. We're really noticing that in our community. So this is one way that we can connect together.
The biggest high will be when players finally hit the ground. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians will no longer be able to donate whole blood on Fridays and Saturdays due to a lack of domestic flights. 7 Tasmania can reveal donations are being postponed because blood can't be sent to processing centres in time.
As the country grapples with the pandemic, a strong supply of donated blood remains critical. But the shutdown of domestic travel has had a side effect. There aren't enough flights to transfer donations from Tasmania to Melbourne's processing centre in time.
Blood has a very strict and highly regulated timeframe in which it needs to be processed and tested.
It means from this week, Tasmanians will not be able to donate whole blood on Fridays or Saturdays at any of the state's 4 donor centres. Those with existing appointments are being contacted by the Red Cross to reschedule. We're being assured those who need blood will still receive it.
It doesn't matter where the patient is, we will get blood to them. And we've had such a fantastic response from donors, not just in Tasmania, but right across the nation.
At processing centres, donated blood is tested for disease before being sent back to Tasmania. Local donor centres will still be accepting plasma on Fridays and Saturdays, as it doesn't need to be processed as quickly as whole blood. The message from the Red Cross is still to roll up your sleeve if you can, just from Monday to Thursday.
Even if you can't get in now, booking in and donating at any point in the future is still going to help save lives.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Darcy Short and Belinda Vakariwa have been named Big Bash players of the tournament following stellar seasons with the Hobart Hurricanes. Despite missing 5 games while touring India with the national one-day squad, Short claimed the title for the 3rd year running after once again being a driving force with the bat. He thinks next season's Big Bash will retain its lustre even if it lacks international players.
I think it would be great for the attraction of the Big Bash in terms of having all the international Aussie players playing in it.
While in her debut season for the Hurricanes, Vakariwa was the WBBL's 3rd highest wicket taker for the season. She is the first in her family to play cricket and even taught her Fijian-born dad the rules as a child.
He was really happy. He just said, well, he's a hard man to please. He just said, good work, girl, make sure you keep training hard. So that from my father's pretty big for me, and I know deep down he's really proud and happy.
Mac Wright was named the Jamie Cox Young Player of the Year.
Good evening, a high of 17 across Launceston, Burnie and Devonport today, Hobart 21. 22 was the state's top about Flinders Island and Friendly Beaches, Smithton and Lowhead 16 and 21 at Grove. On the close-up, a frontal cloud band is seen to the west of Tasmania while most of the north is covered in low-level cloud. Further out, onshore winds are developing low-level cloud over the Queensland coast while a cloud band extends from New South Wales into the Tasman Sea. Tomorrow shows a couple of low centres near Tasmania with associated cold fronts extending into the Bight. West to north-westerly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots in the north, swells up to 4 metres in the west and south and around 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for northwestern and northern coastal waters from Sandy Cape to the northern tip of Flinders Island. Tomorrow's forecast now rain easing and 15 across Hobart and New Norfolk, Cygnet 14. Launceston and Devonport 15 and showers developing 13 at Campbelltown. Burnie tomorrow showers developing 15 and showers across Strawn and Smithton. A shower or 2 about St Helens and Fingal, Swansea 16. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast Friday, showers about the west and north extending statewide late morning. Saturday, showers in the west, south and central areas. And Sunday, showers about the west, south and central areas, fine elsewhere. Capital cities 22 and sunny in Perth tomorrow. Rain about Canberra and Sydney and 15 in Adelaide. And currently 14 and showers across Hobart and Launceston, Devonport 12 and showers. That's all for weather tonight, Murph.
Thanks very much, Jackie. I'm not sure if we're all enjoying this little preview of winter we had today. That's all our news for now. I'll be back later with some updates. Thanks for joining us this evening. Good night.